Welcome to the Illinois Perinatal Quality Collaborative Labor Management Support e-modules. These e-modules were made as a resource to support hospital implementation of the ILPQC Promoting Vaginal Birth, or PVB, initiative. The aim of the PVB initiative is for 70% of Illinois hospitals to be at or below the Healthy People 2030 goal of 23.6% cesarean delivery rate among NTSV, or nulliparous term singleton and vertex births, by December 31st, 2022. Our goals include increasing the percent of C-sections among NTSV births that meet ACOG SMFM criteria for cesarean, as well as educating physicians, midwives, and nurses on ACOG and SMFM criteria for cesarean, including labor management strategies. Hospital quality improvement teams participating in the PVB initiative are working on 5 key strategies to reduce cesareans among NTSV births, including labor management support. ILPQC partnered with Jessica Brumley, the co-creator of the Florida Perinatal Quality Collaborative, or FPQC, labor support workshops, completed by over 400 nurses and providers in Florida as part of FPQC's Promoting Primary Vaginal Deliveries, or PROVIDE initiative. Jessica is Director of Midwifery at the University of South Florida Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, where she leads a team of 14 midwives and advanced practice nurses. She also serves as an advisor on the FPQC PROVIDE initiative. In August and September of 2021, Jessica and ILPQC worked together to offer 2 live virtual labor management support courses for nurses and providers in Illinois. These sessions were recorded and broken down by topic into this collection of 14 e-modules ranging from 6 to 21 minutes each. We are excited to share them with you. Now I will turn it over to Jessica.
Okay, so supporting the patient in the second stage. I wanted to show you some pictures of what pushing can look like not on your back. And you want to be changing positions. I mean, obviously, if they're making progress and it's really visible, then if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But otherwise, if it looks like they're going to be there a while, we should be pushing in different positions, and maybe don't even start on your back, right? Like maybe start in a totally different position than on your back. Maybe start with the squat bar, like get that right away, and bring it in. Because the lithotomy position with the legs pulled back may decrease comfort. Like some people feel so much more pressure on their lower back when they're in that position. And if you're not, if you're not coping well and you're not comfortable, it may be harder for you to, to push. And that position doesn't utilize the benefits of gravity like an upright position does, or forward leaning. Really just depending on, what feels comfortable for the person. So pushing without an epidural can happen in any position, in anywhere. Sometimes I feel like I'm saying like something really crazy to labor and delivery nurses who are like, you push out of the bed? I mean, yeah, right. I'm always excited to hear that when people are comfortable doing that, because if you don't have an epidural, you are where you are, and you push however you see fit. And so these are just all, some examples of ways that you can push in the bed without an epidural. Side lying, hands, knees, standing. I love standing, leaning over the bed. That seems to work really well. Hands and knees is also another favorite in the bed. That works really well. Pushing with an epidural. I mean, in the bed, but in almost any position that you can do without an epidural, with the right support and the right tools, you can push in lots of different positions. And so if you do start in lithotomy, side lying is a natural, like, next one, right? Because we get people on their side all the time, and we can use the like leg rests and just, support the top leg on there. Then the next one might be like a squat bar, doing a little tug of war with the squat bar, like she is in 3A and B. That's a great option as well. And introducing these ideas earlier is going to help the patient understand sort of, the expectation. So sometimes when you start pushing, the head still is high. And these positions we can obviously use in labor as well. But if you're thinking, okay, the head is still high, she's really numb, and I want to try some positions while we're laboring down, in order to help the head to descend. So we want to open the inlet, right? The top part of the pelvis that's letting the head down, kind of like Gail Telly talked about in that hip tuck, a belly lift and hip tuck. So here we're going to play a video on inlet openers. Hopefully you enjoy this.
Froggies and the reclining cowgirl work because they both appear to be an anterior tilt because my back is super arched. So it looks like my pelvis is doing this because the rest of my spine is kind of following this way. But what's actually happening is it's actually a posterior pelvic tilt because the sacrum is being locked down in the froggy walters by the bench. And then the legs are pulling the sacrum this way. So it actually is bringing it into a posterior pelvic tilt. And now for the flying cowgirl, that over hip extension, so my femurs are here, they're going to overextend, and in response, my iliums here have to follow it. So it's actually doing this, and it's bringing my pelvis underneath. So the important thing about both those movements is that hip extension. So if I'm just arching my back, my pelvis is doing this. If I'm extending in my hip, it's going to tuck.
Okay. I think there was more to that video that might have gotten cut off at some point, but it's okay. I'm sure that we've hopefully we've seen the flying cowgirl. That's been super successful, and I feel like all the rage on the labor and delivery nurses Rocks Facebook group. I've seen a lot of that there, and the Walters technique. Let's see, I'm gonna share my screen again. This is an example of what the Walters technique can look like. I like when they use the pelvis to kind of demonstrate sort of, what's happening there. So if somebody has an epidural, then you can either just put the foot of the bed down really low. I like how you see a yoga mat kind of rolled on the lower part of her back. You can do that with a towel or a blanket and put it on that kind of lower part of the back in the bed. And I've seen some people actually take the bottom of the bed off, but leave like the foot pedals and just really drop them and kind of, let the head legs hang down. You only do this through 3 contractions. And several times that I've done this, I have seen big whopping decels each time, like 1, 2, 3, and then done. I put them right back in, and the head's much lower, and then we, proceed to push much more effectively, and the baby looks fine. So I've had some good success with this before. And I like this suggestion, right? You really, especially if she doesn't have an epidural, like really keep sort of close eye contact and be close to her, because it can feel really intense and sort of strange to be in this position. Another technique that I feel like has been all the rage lately on some of the groups is this idea of closed knee pushing, right? Because we're so used to, pulling the legs back and pushing in this way. But the idea behind closed knee pushing is that it can open the pelvic outlet. And so we're going to watch a video on that and see that.
All right, so when we're pushing in babies coming out of the bottom portion of the pelvis here, so the outlet, we want to focus on internal rotation of the femur. So knees together, feet, ankles wide. So that way we're opening the bottom a little bit more. So you can see the white dots move farther apart. Now, if she brought her ankles together, but then spread her knees, you can see that the dots get closer together. So it's closing that space up just a little bit. Now, go back to internal rotation. So in this position, her knees are super close to one another. You can still spread your knees pretty wide and still have internal rotation by having the feet be poked out. And it doesn't have to be this exaggerated. It can just be like a little bit, and you're still opening this more. So now we can do this in any position. It doesn't just have to be in all fours. It can be on your back. So if other people were holding her legs, we just have to think a little bit of an internal rotation. So ankle just a little bit, no shoving, just a real gentle push. The other thing that we can do is side lying with the peanut ball. So we're going to put the peanut ball between the ankles if she was just resting in between. This is going to bring that internal rotation to the femur. And the other one, she could be side lying and someone could hold her leg for her as well. So we're still thinking ankle out farther than the knee, and it's going to help create more space in that outlet.
I love the two little dots. Doesn't that visual just like really help to see the rationale behind that small change? And yeah, it's a great visual. Okay. So when we think about position changes, and we've talked about malposition and in the first stage of labor, you can definitely enter the second stage of labor, with a malposition baby. And while there's no evidence that epidurals cause malposition, women with epidurals are up to 4 times more likely to have an OP fetus than women without an epidural. So there's some association. And we know that women with an OP fetus are 2 to 6 times more likely to have a cesarean section. So this is where our work comes in. What can we do to avoid malposition, avoiding routine early amniotomy, and changing positions? So, thinking about what is it that we can do to help to get this baby to rotate. And I liked this visual rotation of ROP to OA. So mother is supine and baby is ROP. And then you change your position to right side lying for 30 minutes. Right, so this is a good position to encourage rest between pushing and can help the baby to turn. And then the baby will likely turn to ROT, at which point you want to get them onto hands and knees to help to complete the final rotation or that other quarter turn into an occiput anterior presentation. Okay, so we've gone through a lot of techniques. I would definitely encourage everyone to practice with a labor bed. When we did these live, I would just kind of get on the bed and circle up with the nurses, and we would talk about how we use the bed, all the different ways that we use our bed. And inevitably, people who even work on the same unit together have different ideas and ways that they can use the bed. So I definitely encourage that as a teaching strategy and opportunity. So just to kind of bring it home, here we have Maggie. She's a prima gravida at 39 and 3. She was admitted for labor at 570 minus 2 with spontaneous rupture of membranes 2 hours ago, clear fluid. She's had significant low back pain and receives an epidural with good relief. You suspect an LOP presentation. She was started on Pitocin after the epidural and is now complete, and -1. good heart tones, contractions every 3 to 4 minutes. Maggie feels some rectal pressure, but not a strong urge to push. So what might you do with Maggie in order to help her, at this point? I am going back to the chat real quick so I can see everybody's. Okay. So, let's say, what position might you try with her? Oh, hi, Queens. Get that head to come down. Walters. Okay. So we get the head down. What about, yeah, all of those are great for descent, right? So once we get the head down, if the baby's in the OP presentation, what might help, right? LOP, what might help to get this baby to rotate also? Yep, hands and knees. So you can do like a side lying because it's LOP, so we could do a side lying and then the hands and knees. And I will say, when I get them in hands and knees, yeah, the modified Sims is how I like to use the side lying. You can, some people call it like the fire hydrant, where they put the leg rest up on the side. You can use the peanut ball on the side lying, or you can just use lots of pillows, in that way as well. And then once I get them into hands and knees, I like them to do like that pelvic tilt, right? Where they kind of just like rock their pelvis, or some people call it like the cat and the cow, like in yoga. And you can do it full up hands and knees, or that like child's pose where you kind of like, put the head down. And some people even will put the bed all the way down in Trendelenburg, with their head all the way down, and do some pelvic tilts like that. So those are some good positions. So once you get it lower and rotated, it's going to be so much easier, right, to push, right? Because now then what happens? An hour later, she's feeling the urge to push. She's, completely effaced, and she's at 0 station. Now she's LOT, which would be when we would put her in hands and knees. And then you get like a +1 station, right? So now we've got somebody calling like, hey, what's taking so long? Right? And you're like, well, I've been doing my work. Tell them to wag their tail. Yes, I love that. Right? You've been doing your work, and now we've got, who can argue with, this baby is complete, and +1. You push, and you have a baby boy. And without some of those really strategic position changes, this could have easily been someone who was pushing for 4 hours and really exhausted, or maybe didn't even get a vaginal delivery because of a persistent OP. So now you guys have so many tools, and I'm sure some of these you already knew about. I wanted to let you know about some of the other patient education tips. Again, there are resources that are already created for second stage, right? Show them the squat bar, show them not being on their back. Show them all the ways that we can use our bed and our room to help to support them in the second stage. There are some great videos out there that you can play, right? So, the Lamaze, Get Up Right and Follow Your Body, and Mother's Advocate. So there are a lot of resources that we can use for our patients. So some take-home points. We probably should be letting people push longer than we used to think. Open glottis pushing may take a little bit longer, but may be especially helpful in decreasing fetal concern and minimizing maternal exhaustion. And all patients can change positions while pushing to help with fetal descent and rotation.